Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
A new company is breathing fresh life into the Mount Lyell mine almost a decade after its closure, following multiple workplace deaths. The West Coast Copper and Gold Reserve could support hundreds of jobs if the project gets the green light.
After 9 years on ice, the prospect of once again breaking ground at Mount Lyell mine is promising.
It is good news. It's exciting news and something we've been waiting for some time.
Tasmania is a mining state. It delivers more than 50% of our exports.
South African company Sibanye-Stillwater finalising its purchase of the mothballed site, estimated to be capable of supplying 500,000 tonnes of copper and 300,000 ounces of gold over 25 years. A feasibility study still needs to be completed before work begins to bring it back online.
There's a widely held view that there is going to be a copper shortage later this decade. And Mount Lyell potentially can help provide those copper units into the market.
Mount Lyell has been part of the West Coast economy since the 1890s, but following 3 fatalities in 2 separate incidents, production stopped and hundreds of workers were laid off in 2014. $9.5 million from Tasmanian taxpayers has got the new project this far, with a further $25 million carrot dangled for once mining operations start again. It would mean an influx of workers to Queenstown, a boon for the economy, but there is the question of where they will live.
Already made contact with Homes Tasmania with regard to how they may be able to assist as well with worker accommodation, which, you know, it's one of the big things on the West Coast we struggle with at the moment.
There's no indication yet of when a final decision will be made. Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
A ward at the Launceston General Hospital is in lockdown after a suspected gastro outbreak. The Department of Health has confirmed several patients on Ward 5A have developed gastro-like symptoms, while a case of COVID has also been detected. The ward is closed to new admissions and visitors, with no timeline on when it will be safe to reopen. The LGH says it's implementing its infection control measures and limiting the movement of patients and staff around the hospital. Protesters have gathered outside Parliament House calling for swift parrot habitats to be better protected. Led by the Bob Brown Foundation, a group of 20 calling for native forest logging to be stopped in Tasmania. The foundation warning the critically endangered bird can't survive without preventing its nesting sites from being cut down. Meanwhile, the state government and Salmon Tasmania will boost their efforts to save the Maugean skate from extinction. More than $2 million has been committed by the government to a captive breeding program.
We've got the know-how and the people. We've got the facilities here in Tasmania. The Tasmanian government is backing that know-how.
Demonstrating that we can actually collaborate across the science community, across governments and across industry to actually make positive change.
Salmon Tasmania says it's hoping to begin pumping oxygen into Macquarie Harbour by Christmas, but pressure is growing from environmentalists to move salmon farming out of the harbour to protect the skate's dwindling population. Premier Jeremy Rockliff has revealed the state's top lawyer knew who was facing a misconduct notice from the Commission of Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse. The government is still facing questions over how those civil servants will be held accountable.
A day after saying the government hadn't been given a list of individuals who received misconduct notices, the Premier had more to add.
I'm advised that the Commission of Inquiry did write to the state's lawyer in April this year, advising of current and former state servants who the Commission had intended or was considering issuing misconduct notices to.
A distinction made between what the state and the state's lawyer knew.
How is it only today that your government realises you've had these names since April and that you've not done anything?
All relevant heads of agencies are continuing to work through the issues raised and information provided by the Commission.
The independent MLC who triggered the storm calling it astonishing.
It begs the question, what more is yet to emerge on these issues? And how can we trust an internal process within government to bring it to light.
Scrutiny continued in Parliament today of those named, including a former Ashley Youth Detention Centre manager.
Mr Ryan did not act appropriately in relation to harmful sexual behaviours and physical assaults at the centre. He failed to report matters to police or child safety services. Can you confirm, Premier, if Mr Ryan is still employed by the state of Tasmania?
I will not speak of individual at this present time, Mr Speaker.
As of yesterday, Patrick Ryan was the business manager of the Silverdome, a position that requires a working with vulnerable people check. After facing tough questions over the child safety system and the timeline to close Ashley Youth Detention Centre, Roger Jensch was the subject of a censure motion from the opposition this afternoon.
This minister's lack of urgency is offensive.
Labor typically raises stunt motions, censure motions and other things in our parliament. That's a matter for them and how they play the politics of it.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, Hobart's rental market remains tight, according to the latest Domain report. It found the city's vacancy rate dropped to 0.9% in October, which is the 4th consecutive month it's declined. While the figure is the lowest recorded since March, our vacancy rates are the 3rd highest in the country. The controversy surrounding the Jack Jumpers Indigenous round jersey has taken a new turn. The South East Tasmanian Aboriginal Corporation throwing its support behind the artist and his design, calling for it to be worn. The group today commending the Jack Jumpers for giving a talented young Aboriginal man a platform to share his culture, saying they hope to see it worn as intended. The Jack Jumpers announced late Tuesday players would not wear the jersey and pulled it from sale following outrage from some local Indigenous members. Fire Minister Felix Ellis has called an urgent roundtable with his fire service reform bill in danger. Stakeholders ranging from the United Firefighters Union to the Property Council have voiced concerns about the reformed funding model.
The roundtable that will bring together industry, business, local government, the community, our firefighters and SES and unions.
This minister has failed to consult. He's utterly arrogant. Most stakeholders found out about the new funding models through the media reports.
It's proposed the insurance levy is abolished with a larger property levy introduced.
Anyone who thinks that insurers will drop premiums because they're no longer required to collect the fire levy, yeah, I can't see that happening personally.
Felix Ellis claims the new model would increase fire service funding by around 10%. Training organisations are calling for a larger role as part of the government's first youth jobs strategy. The Beacon Foundation, which provides career opportunities to young people, says it and similar groups are a vital link between education and the workforce.
We need to have a solid career education base to ensure young people are set up for their future.
Beacon and other intermediaries would be able to provide that service at a much more efficient and effective way than perhaps what our classroom teacher could.
Consultation has closed on the strategy. It's expected to be released next year. It's full steam ahead for the West Coast Wilderness Railway, with the service on track to resume in a few weeks. The iconic tourism attraction was shut down in March for major maintenance work, just weeks after a diesel locomotive derailed on its way to Strawn. Services will begin operating from Queenstown on November 21, initially running for 5 days a week. Strawn services will follow once further bridge work is complete. The days of e-scooters being dumped wherever riders please are numbered in Launceston. The city introducing 38 dedicated parking bays, which will be the only places hired scooters can be left.
You're not going to be able to stop your trip until you put your e-scooter into that bay. So we're going to alleviate the sort of, it doesn't look really great. It's a bit messy, a bit untidy when you just see them laying on the ground.
The parking area requirements will come into force over the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the Launceston CBD is getting a fresh splash of colour. Workers are busy planting 3,000 new flowers around pedestrian hotspots, which should be in full bloom by the festive season.
We're planting petunias, red and white, to sort of fit in with the Christmas theme. I find that they're quite hardy and they spread nicely, so act like a bit of a cover crop, keep the weeds out. It will take the team about 2 weeks to get them all in the ground.
A neighbourhood garden in Hobart is expanding its routes after securing funding from the state government. Founded by a former sign writer who wanted to keep his hands dirty, the organisation will soon start turning its produce into plates of food.
David Stephen loves nature, the green thumb swapping paint for parsley in retirement.
Getting my hands dirty, I love it. And it's so different to the life that I led.
Once weed infested, his neighbourhood garden is ripening by the day. 80 members spread across 100 plots, growing healthy and sustainable food as a community.
Providing people with a shared outlet in which they can connect with people that are like-minded.
Counting a group of chefs as members, they're planning to use their knowledge, securing $2,500 in state government funding to purchase cooking equipment. The garden's set to run demonstrations, focusing on their own produce.
Teach on the rest of the membership and the community largely how to prepare them as the crops that they produce.
Really thrilled to see what we can do in the future.
Funding secured from the state government's Healthy Tasmania Step Forward initiative.
Healthy, active lifestyles helps you achieve your full potential. And good health and good eating is the way to improve.
Do something quickly as opposed to fundraise through other means, which would invariably take many months.
The minister wants more fruit and vegetables on Tasmanian tables. The King Gardener also taking a few notes.
I've been admiring the silver beet. It's particularly fresh. This neighbourhood garden is an absolute ripper.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmanian News.
The Hurricanes won't change a thing tonight as they look for a third straight win. Hosting the Melbourne Stars at Blunston, this is their chance to show they can make good on a pre-season pledge to play this year's WBBL decider. After a slow start to the season, the Imports started firing against the Thunder last match, but Melbourne come off a win over Perth, who of course beat the Canes in consecutive matches earlier this season. The Jack Jumpers are confident their defensive woes are behind them ahead of Saturday's rematch with the Bullets at the Silverdome. Shoring up their game plan has been the focus at training as they ready themselves to face Brisbane for the second time in 6 days, keen to atone for Sunday's narrow loss.
It's a bit of chess and checkers, so it is fun to be able to play them, you know, break it down in the film and then come out and put a new plan together.
Full court defence has got to be something that we've got to get back to, and it's been our backbone for 2 years, so we're just looking to find that again.
The Bullets will score a boost with Aaron Baines returning from suspension in time for the clash. Another of the world's biggest mountain bike competitions is coming to Tasmania. Medina Park will host the 2-day Red Bull Hardline event next February, the first time the invite-only race has been held outside of Wales. The Hardline team will design and build a course with the trademark challenges and knee-chattering jumps which attract the world's most daring riders, choosing Medina for the terrain, which will allow for a longer, faster course. Looks like fun, doesn't it, Kim? But for my collarbone's sake, I think I will not give it a go.
Yeah, indeed. Great coup, though, for Medina. Thanks, Nick.
Good evening. Today, Hobart, Devonport and Burnie all 17. Launceston a lovely 21 degrees. Further out, Bushy Park also 21, Smithton, Low Head and Friendly Beaches all 19. St Helens and Lyowini 17, Flinders Island 16, Marai Island 15, 14 the top for both King Island and Strawn. Extensive low-level cloud is seen to the southwest, King Island and northeastern parts of the state. It was mostly cloudy about the west but mostly sunny elsewhere. Plenty of thunderstorm activity brewing from the Kimberley through southern NT and northeastern SA, with low-level cloud over coastal parts of Western Tasmania and Victoria. Tomorrow, a trough is passing from Perth along the west coast of WA. A low approaches Broome and the tropics. There is also a trough along inland Queensland and New South Wales, extending to northern Tasmania. A high-pressure ridge sits over most of the southern Australian coastline, West to southwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots, tending variable around 10 knots about the northeast in the morning. Winds tend southerly in the south in the late morning and extend throughout, winds reaching up to 30 knots at times about the far northwest in the afternoon. Southwesterly swells in the west and south building to 3 metres. Tomorrow, a strong wind warning is in place for the far northwest coast. Forecast for Friday, a shower or two for Hobart, Huonville and Campania, all 15 degrees. A shower or two also in Launceston, 21, possible showers in Devonport, 19, partly cloudy in Georgetown, 21's the top. Burnie, a possible shower 17, a shower or two for Strawn 16, a possible shower in Wynyard 19 degrees. St Helens, a shower or two 18, partly cloudy in Swansea 17, similar conditions in Port Arthur 16. Saturday, showers about the north and far south, mainly fine elsewhere. Sunday, showers likely to continue about the north, otherwise fine. Forecast for Recreation Day, public holiday in the north on Monday, fine apart from possible light afternoon inland showers. Partly cloudy and windy conditions in Perth, 36 tomorrow, also partly cloudy in Adelaide. 24, Melbourne cloudy with 17, a shower or two in store for Sydney, expecting 24 degrees. And currently in Hobart, it's partly cloudy with 14 degrees. The sun is still shining in Launceston 18, also sunny in Devonport with 15. Some showery conditions expected in the north for the first day of the Tasmanian Craft Fair in Deloraine tomorrow, Kim.
Hey, thank you, Kai, my old stomping ground. And that is all your news for this Thursday on behalf of the entire team. Thanks for your company. Good night.